that stuck with me. And so like having the different modalities to do something every day for my physical state, whether it's getting an ice, doing the red light, it does shift your mind. It shifts, it gives you this feeling of renewal. It gives you this feeling of, okay, I can view my life from a different angle, maybe a more balanced angle.
This season on the Living Out Love podcast, we are focusing on you, who you are, what motivates you, what you're here to contribute, and how you can expand. We'll be utilizing my leadership skills and spiritual connection, diving deep into the Enneagram and astrology. Listen every week to become intimately aware of yourself. Only then can you heal and grow. Let's get to work, loves. Hello, loves. Welcome to the Living Out Love podcast. As of every week, I'm always excited to be here. This week is extra special because it's been a long time coming. The guest today, we had planned to record last season, and instead we're recording this season, which was a divine timing thing. So this season, we talked about that we're going deep into the individual. What motivates you? What makes you tick? What helps you heal? Who are you at a spiritual human level? And I think in the spiritual community, we often forget that that includes your body and who are you physically and what is your body telling you physically. So with all that in mind, please help me welcome Tarek Salty. He's the owner of Albi Wellness. It's a wellness center here in Houston that I've come to know. I'll be heading there soon for my birthday. And Tarek, please just tell me about yourself. How did you get into wellness?
Cool. Thank you for having me, Amy. And uh, I got started with wellness out of necessity. There was
Mm,
a time in my life, maybe 15 years ago, my health crashed, right? Energy levels, just feeling off in the body, just nothing feeling like working right. My digestion was not working appropriately, and um, feeling really panicked about it and not knowing what's going on and trying all the different modalities, doing all the scans, going to the doctor's offices, doing all the blood work and testing and diagnosing, and eventually, over time, slowly but surely, kind of finding on a system of things that worked, right? System of tools that really helped empower me, brought me clarity. And speaking of the individual, like realizing how much of the physical issues I was dealing with was related to, maybe some emotion I'm ignoring, or
mm-hmm.
some, uh, you know, action that I'm not taking in my life. So we can go there. We can talk about that today. But I guess, to answer your question, out of necessity, and then eventually people kind of identified me as the guy to ask questions to in my friend group and in my
Yeah.
community. And people kind of looked at me as that authority. Hey, Tarek, what do you suggest I do about this thing or that? And I would get so many people confronting me. I was kind of keeping my wellness journey a secret.
Right.
And it was just, people could feel there was a difference in me, or sense there was a difference, and see it. And after a while, I had a few different careers, and I studied accounting. I went, helped grow my family's restaurant business, and then after a while, I wasn't feeling fulfilled,
Mm.
and got into health coaching, and and here I am with Albi Wellness. So it was kind of like, felt very natural, but
Yeah.
also very, really on purpose. And at this point, it's very mission driven. Really wanting to see my community succeed, myself, my family. Just really, it comes out of it feels good to help other people feel good. So,
Yeah. So you said something that is so perfect because I don't think you probably know that much about me. So prior to getting into the spiritual stuff, I was an emotional intelligence coach. And so when you said emotions being stuck in the body, I was like, amen to that.
yeah,
Because it's so true. Like that energy gets stuck, and stress and trauma that we don't process. And most of us are not taught how to process emotion. And so having other tools to help you. And what I love about your Wellness Center is how much of it is what I would call like preventative medicine. It's, even though it's not medicine per se, but it's just like just get and stay healthy rather than trying to fix illness. And it can do both, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's just helping you to maintain health when you're already healthy, especially for those of us that um, maybe don't know what to do with our stress and we just like go to bed and hope tomorrow's better, you know?
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I'm curious because you mentioned that Albi Wellness is very mission driven. So what is your vision or mission for Albi Wellness?
A big part of it is community,
Mm,
having a place you can go to where you meet other people that are on a similar journey or journey back to the self, to recovery, or high performance. Just really people that are interested in improving their lives and improving their health and improving how their body operates. Um, and education, that's a big
hmm
part of the mission here, um, is educating people because there's so much information out there. Wellness is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People don't know where to go or what to
Right.
do, and so I love to always share information on our email list with our members and people that just follow us, and on our social media, and inspiration as well. A lot of these tools really help infuse the body with uh, with energy and help the body's own energy producing mechanisms work at a higher level. So whether you're on the red light or the lymphatic drainage compression or using any of these tools, they they help you get back in your body. They help you process life. Uh, they actually physically work on the muscles and the lymphatic system. And at this point, I see no difference between the body and the mind as far as
Mm,
like how that connection works and how we interface with the world. And from a therapeutic point of view, you may use different modalities. I'm not completely well versed in all of your techniques, but um, I may look at it from the physical side of things. So like, how can we get the body ready to process this emotion or process this uh, next chapter in our life? And it really takes a holistic point of view. But I guess our mission here is to really look at the body and see what we can do with it, whether it's nutrition, um, light, compression, oxygen, hot,
right.
cold. That's elemental forces.
Yeah. I mean, so you didn't say this in your mission, but I just want to add that my experience of Albi Wellness, I've been there just short of a handful of times. I always leave feeling nurtured. And it doesn't matter who's there and what service I've done, that nurturing is so important. And I think I'm going to put it collectively to us as Americans who's primarily listening to the podcast. Our culture is so much about like, go, go, go. And what are you producing, that we haven't valued rest and nurturing that much. And so
Yeah,
when I leave Albi Wellness, I mean, it's different every time because I've been trying different things. But it's almost like, in Disney movies, there's always like the makeover. Elsa gets the new
yeah,
glittery dress and she's like the new version. It's like I've been made over a little bit, but it's like the relaxed, grounded version of me. It's like instead of changing the dress, I just took the stress off. I was like,
yeah.
oh, look, here I am. Like I came back to myself. And I think, I'm sorry, I'm just going to talk, talk, talk. But
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Really nice to hear.
yeah. One of the things that I think is so interesting is there's been this push, like in corporate America, to include like mental health days and benefits packages, which is great. But the people I know that actually take the mental health days, it's like they stay home and they clean out their closet or they watch Netflix or something. I think it's just a missed opportunity that if we could actually include our physical body in the idea of our mental health. So back to your point, it's so like I think differently when I leave your center and I've taken time to slow down and just breathe and do whatever service I do, it's like I leave and I think differently and I feel more in alignment with myself. And it's like kind of like you get all the benefits of meditation plus some, so that's been my experience of your center so far. And I have to say also, I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to let you talk. Um, I've really appreciated that it's just made things accessible. Like I've known about red light therapy and I've bought one of the little LED masks and I've known about certain things, but many of them are way out of price range for most people. So to have a place to go and experience those modalities and not have to store it somewhere in my house, it's just a real gift to the community. So yeah, I'm thrilled to know about your place. So why don't you, if you don't mind, respond to anything you want to respond to, but then I'd also be curious to hear about any of the services that you offer at Albi Wellness that you'd want to talk about.
Yeah, thank you for that awesome feedback. I
Yeah.
love to hear those sorts of things. We're almost at that 1 year mark, so I like to. It's kind of we're reevaluating what we're doing here, and
Yeah.
so yeah, the what you said reminds me of um, when I used to listen to those old Tony Robbins tapes from like the 90s. One of his first
Yes.
ones, I was listening to a recording of it, and he was saying how you do something every single day for your body
Mm,
to shift your state, shift your life, and to kind of, uh, he's really motivational the way he
right.
brings things forward and everything. And that stuck with me. And so, like, having the different modalities to do something every day for my physical state, whether it's getting an ice, doing the red light, it does shift your mind. It shifts. It gives you this feeling of renewal. It gives you this feeling of, okay, I can view my life from a different angle, maybe a more balanced angle, and it yeah, that's kind of what you remind me of. And um, our therapies here are wonderful for so many different things. We have about a dozen of them.
Wow.
Uh, Red light, namely, one of our most popular, known as photobiomodulation, and it emits a specific wavelength of light that your mitochondria respond to, your cells respond to it, and it provides a level of circulation um, and helps you produce energy essentially uh, in a new way.
Hmm.
And it's one of my favorites. And people that have long-standing pain, scarring on the skin. I'm sure you've seen the red light masks that are really nice. But imagine your whole body's getting that red light. So instead of collagen just being produced on the face, it's being produced elsewhere in the body. So really great for regeneration and for healing and for kind of going over the hump. In my
Yeah.
case, I had really arthritic joints, and I would actually audibly hear crunchy sounds like in
Oh,
my shoulders and in my body. And obviously, you got to do all the things, right? Get the hydration piece lined up
right.
and the nutritional side of things, and the movement and the yoga and all of that. But the red light was really powerful, just kind of knocking that out. So that's one of my favorites. And another we have is the infrared sauna, which is uses it's different than your dry sauna at the gym that heats the air. This has a wavelength of heat that penetrates into the body, gets you sweating from the inside out. It's really powerful for detox. And pairing that with a cold plunge afterwards is just one of the most exhilarating, wonderful experiences that exists ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I took a trip about, I don't know, 5 years ago to England with my wife,
Yeah.
and we went to Bath. And there was a history of use of cold and hot therapies. And then we took a little drive up north to this ancient Roman villa that was maybe, I don't know, centuries old, right?
Right. Right.
Thousand. And you could see the mosaics still intact. And
Wow.
they built this villa in a valley where the cold water spring is coming out of, and you walk in it, and there's a tub like at the end of the house where the spring is, and you could see where they would have channeled the water into that tub for bathing, right, and for plunging. But then next to it there was another tub that was slightly elevated, and there was like a fireplace underneath, and they could heat the water that way. So imagine you can do your little hot tub right there, and then the cold plunge and the hot tub. And I thought, wow, people have been doing some form of contrast therapy forever, right? Imagine the sweat lodge next to the in the snow outside, or the uh in Pagosa Springs there's the hot spring located right next to the cold spring, going
Yeah.
back and forth and back and forth. So these elements of uh hot and cold have been around forever,
Yeah.
and it's important to be allied with them and not resist them and not be afraid of them because they're here. And a lot of us are hyper domesticated and hyper
Comfortable.
indoors comfortable.
Yeah.
So getting outside our comfort zone, getting in
Yeah.
the cold is even me, I'm hesitating thinking about it because it's a
It's
challenge every
so
time.
cold.
But
Yeah.
it's really awesome experience that I think of all the therapies we have here, a lot of them are very passive. They just kind of work on you. They just do their thing. But the cold is the one you kind of have that presence and develop that mental toughness, you could
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
and and learning to slow your rate of breathing and just really develop that inner strength. And so uh, that's a really powerful one.
So I want to talk
Um,
about the hot cold before you
yeah,
go on. So my grandmother actually used to own a spa, and then she was the director of a pretty big famous spa for a while. So when I was young, she would talk to us about hot cold, and we would do like just at the pool, like we'd go get in the hot tub and then we do. And as a kid, I was so aware of how much better I felt. Like you just feel better, and it takes
yeah,
everything you have to get in that cold water.
yeah,
But then you feel great. And so you're right, like it's been around forever, and the top dollar spas across Europe, that's what they have the pools and
yeah,
resorts. It's just incredible. um but I've tried the hot cold at Albi twice, and the second time I was like, okay, I got a plan. I'm gonna go in. This is what I'm gonna do. This is a song I'm gonna sing. Like this is, and I made it to 58 seconds. So I'm excited. When I come back on my birthday, I'm gonna get one of the people that works there to help coach me through it so I can stay in.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's the other thing that you said that I wanted to respond to as being something that I like. That a lot of the therapies there are passive, because for me, I have trouble slowing down. So the idea that I just get to lay and rest, or I'm just going to sit here and read my book while I do this
yeah,
therapy, it's just double,
yeah,
nourishing.
yeah.
Um,
Or not look at my phone for 30 minutes or an hour.
right? Just, I'm just
That's
going to, it's
such a
off.
meaningful time.
It
Yeah,
is. It is. So it's just, oh, it's so lovely. But that hot cold, I've done hot cold lots of different places, but none of them are a true cold plunge like the one that you have. Like
it's cold.
I
Yeah,
went in there and I was like, oh, I got this. I've done this before. And 30 seconds later, I was like, I don't got it. I gotta get out. So yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the first things I did at Albi Wellness that I was surprised by was the vibe bed. And part of the thing that surprised me about it was that it comes with like the joint kind of meditations that
hmm,
had different um, visions, goals, themes. Um, and I love that too, because it's another area where it's kind of like, oh, it's like meditation, but also it includes the body. But would you talk about the vibe bed?
yeah. So the Vibe Bed is the name brand for a form of therapy called the vibroacoustic therapy.
Oh,
And vibroacoustic, just like the way it sounds, vibration with sound paired together in a musical track, or it could be like a sound healing recording, or it could be a guided meditation. And you put the headphones on, you lay down, and the bed will start to vibrate, synchronized with music. And it's a therapy that can help release any shock or trauma from the body, any
mm,
stored nervous system stress, uh, even give you a bit of a cellular massage and kind of because it relaxes you and gets you back into your body. And um, I like you found it remarkable that vibrations and sound can do this, right? And
Right.
um, it for me, it drops me into a state of instant meditation. If I'm working through a problem or I want to kind of solve a problem, I'll go lay on the vibe for 20 minutes or so and kind of work through it. And it's really great for that. I see a lot of people come just for that, like
Yeah.
the meditator types, the people that love the inward journey traveler type of person.
Yeah.
It's really really wonderful.
It is. It's really interesting. I've done it twice, and I did very different journeys both times. And it's I don't. It's just an experience. Like I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it is.
For me, I I feel like my initial when I first start, it's like just like the brain dump. Like my brain is just like, okay, we're still like, what all do we need to think about? And then before I know it, I'm just somewhere else.
Yeah,
Like the thought train just gets lost, and all of a sudden I'm just in the experience. It's really interesting. Of the things that I've tried there, it's the one that I couldn't point to how it helps me, but I know that it does. you know,
yeah,
for me, that's been my experience. But I really enjoy it. I've also had the what is it? The lymphatic drainage. Is that what?
yes. The flow presso.
Yeah.
That's one of our most popular services, and it's a lymphatic drainage suit that we wrap you up in, or one of our technicians would wrap you up, your feet, your legs, your torso, your arms, and it's computer controlled, so we would control the pressure at every step of the way. And essentially, what it's doing is it's wringing out all of your limbs like a tube of toothpaste,
Mm,
and it has these overlapping chambers that known as lymphatic compression that will move all the fluid through your body and helps you essentially do a toxin dump and a cleaning of your lymphatic system, which we don't have a pump for. So we need movement or yoga or stretching or walking or vibration to help move that lymph.
yeah.
And because of us nowadays living in car cities, we don't move around as much. We sit at our desks a lot. It's really important to utilize this as a strategy uh, to help kind of move things along. And it has other technologies in it. It has uh, infrared heat and it has deep pressure therapy. So deep pressure is like uh, a swaddle or a weighted blanket, you could say,
Yeah.
that helps comfort the nervous system, kind of gives you this ability to do a body scan of your own body and see where you're holding on to tension and pressure. And I feel it just pairs wonderfully with the heat
Yeah.
and the compression to kind of help you let go of any stress and tension. And it's remarkable how easy it makes you feel to get back in your own body and to feel whole. I don't know. Sarah, one of the our staff people here was talking. We were talking about the benefits of it, and she's like, Tarek, this is really good for trauma. People that have experienced trauma. Um, because it has physical health benefits, but it's all related, right?
Oh, it's
And
yeah.
we're holding on in a certain place in our body. It's important to learn to let go. So that's it's a really powerful tool for
Right. From the spiritual perspective, it's a scientific really. We we are movers of energy. Like if I'm connecting with, angels or loved ones on the other side, I do it by tapping into their energy. And so when you're talking about like the lymph, it's like anytime where the lymphs are not properly draining and releasing, it's like your energy can't flow properly. And
that. Yeah,
so that's that example of where we're talking about your physical body impacts everything else, and that you need everything to be able to flow. Um, and I did have that exact experience where the the deep pressure, and I sleep with the weighted blanket. I even when it's hot outside, I like to wear a jacket. I like the feeling of something on me.
Yeah.
And so that deep pressure was, it's interesting because with like massage, I don't really like deep tissue massage. To me, it feels painful and it actually causes me to have like an anxiety. But the way,
Yeah.
because of the warmth and because of the suit, it just is therapeutic. But
Yeah.
it felt like, okay, now it's my calves' turn to get hugged. Okay, now it's my thighs'
Yeah.
turn to get hugged. Like it's just like, oh, it's so good. And
Yeah.
it took me a bit to relax into it, but once I was in there, it was so good. And
Yeah.
because it's deep, you're really quickly able to be like, oh, I'm not, you know, my shoulders got some work to do. Okay. And then by the end of it,
Yeah.
you're just settled in. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I was, I'm fortunate that I'm pretty healthy. And so I'm not
Yeah.
going to go in there and have a life-changing experience, most likely. But even even for me, just that, the deep pressure and then the energy moving. I mean, I think we all take for granted how important our health is. And in fact, I'd love for you to talk about, like you said, kind of started 15 years ago, like how much of your time and energy and money was spent on your not being healthy?
Oh man. Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
Like if your relationships are going to suffer, your income is going to suffer,
Mm,
your uh, you know ability to just enjoy simple pleasures of life, all being present. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And you hear that all the time. When people lose their health, they didn't realize what they lost. Um, or when they maintain their health, it's just a wonderful thing in having that health span age. And um, with my story, I it would I put it lightly. I say, oh, my health collapsed. That it was hellish. I didn't know what was going on.
mm,
I felt super confused. So many different doctors telling me all conflicting things. Um, and there were some people super inspiring that kind of believed in me, believed that I would heal. And that belief is one of the kind of anchors that I help help me across, right?
yeah,
But it still took a lot of curiosity and a lot of investigating and experimenting. And I think just because the nature of my injuries and surgeries I've had and all sorts of things, that I don't expect everyone to go through the same journey I've been through or
sure.
really understand it. It wasn't fun, and I had to learn the threshold of what's possible so that I can be a coach for others to say, okay, oh, I've seen this before, and I can compassionately uh, sense that in the other person and help them across that bridge of fear to say everything's going to be fine. Let's just take these steps together, and you'll do it. So we do offer some coaching here
Oh, that's cool.
out of the center as well, which um, I feel I wish I would have had 10
Yeah.
years ago to move things along. And in so many ways, I feel, um, like you said, like we were saying earlier, a mission or obligation to bring shed light on you know personal empowerment, natural health, and at the end of the day, it was a mindfulness practice for myself that kind of maintained everything
Mm,
and building momentum using all of the different modalities, right? So not just giving up after one session, really, really going for it,
yeah.
being what a 10th session is like. So
I mean, I commend you because it's hard to not have a diagnosis. Like you go to one doctor and they're like, oh, it's lupus. And you go to a different doctor and it's like, oh, it's this other
yeah,
autoimmune. Like to stick with it, I imagine it was years, not months.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
just, bless
yeah.
your heart.
There were some diagnoses like hypothyroidism. I was diagnosed with it.
Mm,
My thyroid levels and even the scan, showed that I had some thyroid dysfunction. So there are like actual measurable things that were wrong, but I feel like the solutions were not really helping me.
Right.
I didn't feel confident. So
Right. Yeah. Ooh, and I think like I'm fine with taking a pill now and then. I'm not anti-medicine, but
yeah,
I think in general we've lost sight of what our nature is as humans. You know, we're designed to walk, we're designed to be outside, and
yeah,
it's just like, you know, what we eat and eating seasonally and that connection to the earth and a lot of what you do vibrationally is that connection to the earth. It's like bringing you back
yeah.
vibrationally. It is. You wouldn't think so because it's lying on a red light table or whatever, but it's bringing you back there. Um,
That, going back to that,
yeah.
my journey, the earth and nature herself and the plant kingdom and the mountains and the springs of the earth and the
Mm,
beaches, those are what really restored me on a
wow.
deep level. So like if I have members coming here all the time and I see their face all the time, I'll be like, hey, when's the last time you left the city? When's the last time you just went up to the mountains and, or gone to the beach or
Yeah.
just done something to connect? Because, these tools are great, but if we're not putting these foundational steps in place, that these are going to fall short and I don't feel they're going to work as well. So, thank you for bringing that up and for noticing that.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And earlier I asked you like the difference between the cost of illness and wellness, and you were talking about, your relationships are going to be better, all that's going to be better. And I wanted to add two things to that list because I find, and I'm taking it to an adult place, but I find that when I'm actually relaxed and nurtured, my libido is healthy. And then my ability to think, like as someone I've been on an ADHD autism journey and figuring all that out, my thinking slows down, which sounds like a bad thing, but for somebody that is thinking way too fast, it's like I can't grab hold of them all and keep them all in line.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
actually slows it down. Um, and from like the emotional intelligence point of view, I'm going to go on a rant, but a lot of times we think like what we think is what causes our emotions, and it can, but also the emotional state that we're in at the time. Like if I stub my toe and I was already laughing about something, I'm like, oh, haha, I wasn't paying attention. I stubbed my toe. Versus if I was walking around upset and then I stubbed my toe, be like, oh my God, this is the worst day, and
yeah,
that emotional state it's just vibrational frequency in our body. That's all that it is. And so when we go and we work on the body, we are working on our emotions,
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Ugh. So yeah, I'm just geeking out. So there's one of the things that you offer that I'm terrified of. So I want you to talk to me about the hyperbaric chamber.
The hyperbaric chamber. So that requires you fill out an intake and make sure that you're fit for it. But most people, it's one of the safest oxygen therapies that exist, and we have something called a mild hyperbaric that is a soft shell bag essentially that you get zipped up into, and there's a compressor that pressurizes the air and brings it up to 1.3 atmospheres or 4 psi, and it pressurizes the oxygen into your body while you're breathing in pure oxygen. So you have a nasal thing that you put in your nose and you're breathing that in, and it's flooding your body with oxygen. And oxygen is what we need for our cells to operate. That's what we breathe. We're oxygen breathing organisms. So, and any scar tissue, damaged tissue, uh, any obstructions, adhesions in the body are not very oxygenated. So essentially, we're getting
Oh,
the oxygen in there. It's really good for brain stuff where there's a blood brain barrier for, and it's hard, right? So it's difficult to like massage
right,
inside your brain, right? So if we can bring oxygen into those areas, and the research is clear on traumatic brain injury or stroke recovery or surgical post-surgery recovery and that sort of thing, that it helps accelerate the healing because it's bringing that fresh oxygen to that tissue. And that's essentially what healing tissue is
right.
bringing oxygen and hydration and light into those areas of the body. So whether it's sunlight or red light or oxygen therapies here, or going out on a Hawaiian island and breathing in the fresh air and the pure air there, that uh, or even working out the adhesions, having someone, you know, do deep tissue work on your body to
Yeah.
restore blood and oxygen to those areas. Just like you feel good after a massage, you're more circulated, you feel great. So um, oxygen therapies are some of the most powerful. That's one of our most impactful therapies for sure. Um, and just depending on your need, we have people that come, they just want to have that competitive edge on the basketball court. They come in before their game, or people that are just really trying to overcome a chronic fatigue kind of thing.
Wow.
They get results there as well.
And how long do you have to be in that soft shell bag?
It's and you're in there for 90 minutes. It's a
Wow.
1 hour treatment. So it takes you 15 minutes to pressurize and 15 minutes to come down. So it feels like you're going up in an airplane. Your ears are popping. There's a walkie-talkie in there, so we're just communicating like a, the pilot communicating to you through the walkie-talkie. But once you're past that 15 minutes, you're in the clear. You can get some work done in there. You can fall asleep. I think it's a good idea to take maybe 20-30 minute nap in
Yeah.
there. And the first 10-20 minutes, you might think, oh, nothing's happening, I don't know what's going on, similar to like being on that sound bed, like nothing's
Yeah.
happening. And then whoosh, you just feel this flood of oxygen to the body, and you get a really deep, restful uh, experience. So it's
Wow.
I like to just lay there and just take it all in. It-
So you
yeah,
said you can work? Like, is there enough space to read a book?
yeah, it
Oh.
inflates, so it gets pretty big. And I've seen even some
Oh.
hyperbarics have 8-person hyperbarics, so people have meetings in there because they can collaborate more
Wow.
effectively because everyone's more awake and aware. And I've
That's
never done that, but
incredible.
I've heard of it.
That's such a genius idea. I
Yeah.
was thinking about earlier, you were talking about, when was the last time you went to the mountains and you breathed fresh air? And I was thinking about how ironic it is that when we get sick, it's like the medicine is just go feel good. Like just go learn how to feel good in your body. And that is the medicine to feel good. It's just
Yeah.
like this cycle. The other thing I was gonna say, and now it's losing me. Oh, I'll come back to it. I wanted to talk about like that we truly are spiritual in my obviously you're on this podcast, but we're spiritual beings in a human body, and our bodies are our tool. That's where we receive spirit. That's how, like, literally your intuition happens in your body.
Yeah.
And so when your body's out of whack, you can't get your intuition properly. So it's just
That's huge.
it's so much bigger than, I mean, even I, like, I'm like, really, do I really have to exercise? Like, I don't know how much water, like, until it's part of the routine, it's so easy to resent that we have to take care of these bodies, like it's so easy to take them for granted. We blink without
Yeah.
thinking about it. Why do we have to do anything else?
Well,
Um,
I'm sure working with so many people, when we're traumatized,
mm,
it doesn't feel safe in the body to even, and in some spiritual sense, the spirit doesn't even feel safe to fully incarnate and get into the body and experience life.
that's right. You
And
want to
so,
disassociate.
traumatic
Yeah.
experiences can fragment a person's uh,
Energy.
experience of life and sensory experience of life.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't usually talk about this with a lot of people, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. I'm here
you're
for it.
appreciate it. But yeah, that's huge. And um, really learning to heal that trauma, being courageous enough to really feel life again, and not be afraid of life, and know that this is a safe place to experience life, and that we are a child of God, that uh, the universe or God wants good things for us.
Yeah.
That's that's real, and some of us lose sight of that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I'm curious, since you've opened your wellness center, what I mean, it sounds like you had a long journey with wellness before you even opened the center and you were helping your friends out. But I'm curious if anything that's happened that's just surprised you that maybe seemed just like, well, that's just a freaking miracle, or like what all has happened since you opened your center? I know it's only been a year.
Oh man. Um, I've been really inspired to see others on a similar path. I thought I was doing this to help others or help my community or whatever, but the gifts I've been getting from other people have been just awesome. People coming out wanting to help, wanting to be involved. Um, that People are hungry for this. So I didn't
Yeah.
realize how hungry people really are. And yeah, and the level of healing I've been able to receive just by meeting interesting people, people that are themselves on a path of personal development, and uh, because not everyone is into that, or
Right.
everyone's at a different stage and readiness in their life, and so that's been really nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that you've had like this sense of community and nurturing, and the being able to like kind of hold space for people as they start to try to heal. And of course, like everybody is different. Some people are going to come in there and after 2 or 3 visits feel completely different. And some people it's going to take a while. I think one
Yeah,
of the things you said that stuck out to me is you said people are hungry for this. And I think you're right. But I'll add, I think there's a lot of people that are hungry for it that don't know it exists. Like, I think there's a
yeah,
lot of my audience that if I was like, oh, it's red light therapy, or if it's PEMF or hyperbaric, like they've never heard of that, you know?
yeah,
And so that's partially why I wanted to have you on. I think even me, it's so easy to forget on a day-to-day basis how important the body is, and in this podcast season of the individual, what makes you tick, what keeps you in alignment, how do you become your highest self? It would be remiss of me to not talk about the body, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Ugh,
No, yeah, that's so true. And so a lot of people don't know there are other options that exist
yeah,
to help improve their body, and as a result help improve their physiology and their nervous system. And I hear it all the time. People say things like, wow, I didn't know I needed that. And
yeah,
it's they think maybe they're coming for a beauty treatment or a a physical thing to recover from their jujitsu injury or something, but maybe there's something deeper going on. Maybe there's a tension you're holding in your body, and that's why you got injured in the first place, right?
yeah.
Who knows, right?
You know what? I'm
But
gonna I'm gonna throw something out there, and I don't know if you've had this experience, but for a lot of people, if you go and you do something like the lymphatic drainage or the vibe bed, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a release of emotion where
yeah,
they didn't know where it was coming from, but all of a sudden this emotion released. And that's because
yeah,
the energy of emotion stored in our body. So when something happens that
yeah,
allows it to flow, it's this catharsis, and that is healing.
yeah,
Ugh. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And I love the process of release that doesn't require a therapist.
yeah,
Where it's just like, oh, you're gonna squeeze on me and make me feel warm, and then I'm just gonna flow. Okay.
yeah. And that's I think these sorts of things work great if you're in therapy already, so
Oh
you're more
yeah.
receptive and more open to new perspectives. So yeah, that's it. Really is an awesome feeling.
Yeah. Well, Tarek, anything else? I mean, obviously, please tell people where they can find you, but anything else that you'd like to share with us before we end the episode?
Um, the, I feel like we covered a lot of
Yeah, we
things, but
did.
really, try more things. I think that we just mentioned that. That's whether it's things at home you can do, staying curious, reading books, finding onto that next thing, and then doing things to give you some presence to process all of those things as well. So whether it's being on a therapy here or working it out with your therapist, um, it's it's remarkable once you start to combine things. There's a synergy that occurs,
Yeah.
And the definition of a synergy is combining two or more things to produce a result that's greater than the sum of the individual parts, right? So,
Mm,
our linear thinking likes to think that, oh, well, my life has been this way, it's always going to be this way. But
right.
when you start to introduce synergies and really be brave and curious and really wanting to see what else is out there, we're in a completely new way of operating and interfacing with life. So, um,
I'm so glad you said that.
yeah,
That's so beautiful. You're absolutely right that it can create these synergies. And I think ultimately part of what we're saying is when you nurture your body, you nurture your soul, you nurture your
yeah,
whole self. So
yeah,
thank you so much for coming on. This has just been
yeah. Thank you. This was fun.
such a great conversation. So, for those of you, I do have a lot of listeners in Houston. So, for those of you that are in Houston, you can look up Albi Wellness. I'll be there on my birthday, like all day. I'm bringing a
Oh,
friend.
cool.
I was like, listen, we're going to go. This is what we're doing for my birthday. So, I'll see you soon. And for all you
Awesome.
listeners out there, talk to you soon, loves. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Living Out Love podcast. If this episode was helpful for you, there are 3 ways that you can share the love. You can send this episode to family, friend, neighbor, leave me a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, or comment and ask questions on YouTube. This season is meant to be interactive. Thanks again for your presence. I appreciate you being here. Talk to you next week, loves.